Hello and welcome to our very first edition of our digital discussions, which are organized by the e-Estonia Briefing Center. My name is Florian Marcus and I am one of the digital transformation advisors here in the beautiful city of Tallinn. Now for our first topic of the digital discussions, we were thinking about having something connected to COVID-19, and one of the biggest effects of COVID-19 was felt in the education sector. Indeed, the OECD suspects that until the end of the century, we will lose around 1.5% of our economic output overall around the world. Now, this is something very severe because the kids that are supposed to go to school, were supposed to go to school over the last few weeks and months, indeed, they've had to miss out or maybe had delayed or just lower quality education. In order to solve these different challenges, not just for the teachers, but also for the parents and, of course, the students themselves, we have organized this digital discussion and invited not just people from the briefing center, but also from private sector companies in Estonia who want to provide their solutions and show you their solutions to show how they can help you create a more inclusive e-education environment in your country as well. Now, before we talk about all of this, I want to make you aware of this lovely conference environment that we have. We call it WorksUp. There are several things to bear in mind. First of all, we have a Q&A button where you can submit your own questions and also upvote other people's questions if you think that you really want the people on the stage to answer that question in particular. You can ask questions both after the presentations and during the breakout sessions. The breakout sessions we have after the presentations, and there you can see the solutions directly provided by the different companies and ask questions about those solutions as well. Also, we have a profile button where we kindly invite you to fill out your profile, your information, so you can network with other people, like-minded people, and also create further cooperation further down over the next few months and years to come. Lastly, we also have a small poll related to education matters before every single presentation where you can sort of vote and we see what answer the majority of people come up with. Now, before I invite my first guest onto the stage, it is Anett Numma from the e-Estonia Briefing Center. We will also have a small introduction video about the e-Estonia Briefing Center itself. We do offer all of our services physically, where we provide presentations about digitalization in Estonia, but as you would expect during COVID-19, we've also gone online, so you don't have to come to us if you feel that's a bit unsafe, which is perfectly understandable in today's environment. Without any further ado, we will run the video, and after that we will have Anett Numma from the e-Estonia Briefing Center to talk about e-education. Let's take a look.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. That's actually what Benjamin Franklin has said, and he was completely right. Luckily, Estonia has followed his wisdom. The skills of Estonian students rank first by the OSCE PISA test. And we, of course, also show an amazing results in general in our educational policy. And our government still keeps on investing to e-education tools and will continue to do so. But what makes our educational policy so special? This is exactly what we are going to find out here with me today. My name is Anett Numa, and I work as a digital transformation advisor at the Estonia Briefing Center. So to start with here, we have always believed that the fastest road to success is through the education. As we all know, back in March 2020, everyone in the world, including Estonia, had to switch over to remote working and, of course, remote learning overnight. That was a big challenge for everyone, but of course also an amazing opportunity. And what we realized back then was that all this work and developments that we have been doing in our e-education sector in the past 20 years, you heard it right, 20 years, actually was not something just nice to have that we have here, but that was the only way to actually handle the changing world around us here. So, but let's discover now, how did Estonia become actually the new role model in the digital education? So first of all here, in order to understand that better, I'm asking all of you to jump back in time in 20 years. Are you ready? I am. So when we go back to 1990s, actually, we realized from our government side that the only reasonable way to develop these services is to make sure that people are actually going to use the services in the future. And in order to make them to use the services in the future, we had to make sure that they actually have enough knowledge how to use the services online. And that's where we started investing to the education and in order to raise the awareness of people here. So, and obviously, we needed to do this in a very, very democratic way here. So we started a lot of different initiatives with education by providing computers to every single classroom. And do you know that by the end of 2000, all of our schools were actually online already? Yes, that also happened already 20 years ago. Therefore, we also started offering different ICT courses from the very early age, of course, for the students, then followed to the high school side, then, of course, also to the universities. And I'm happy to tell you that we didn't forget about the elderly people. We also had a wonderful project that was called Look at the Word. So also all these elderly people who did not have enough knowledge how to use these services and ICT solutions, we helped them, and this is also education. Of course, we had another project that you can see also on the slides here, which was called Tiger Leap, and that was meant for actually the students in high schools. So, and that was a part that every school needed to have computers. And I'm happy to tell you today that actually 10% of our students who finish high school, they actually go and study ICT education. And that's the highest number in Europe. And that shows how important this sector is. But let's go now and actually focus what is very essential when it comes to developing different services that we have done in our e-education field. So first of all, we all know here that digital skills and competences play a very, very essential role in Estonian education and digital solutions, supporting learning and actually teaching in every single possible way. So, of course, that was a part of our entire project to actually provide professional development and trainings, both for the students, of course, the teachers, and we couldn't forget about also our wonderful parents. So we started providing them different smart solutions such as digital databases, textbooks, e-learning materials, programs, different projects and school managing systems that you are going to also be able to hear more about today here. So another thing that was very important was also to give access to computers and internet for everybody. And these people who have been actually following us for a longer term already, you guys know that actually having access to the internet is one of our social rights. Yeah, one of our social rights. And of course, now when everyone had to work remotely and learn remotely from home, then we needed to make sure that absolutely every single student here would have access to the computer. And I'm happy to tell you that we started a movement for that. So everyone who had computers at home that they didn't use could actually lend it to the students who didn't have enough computers. I believe there are many families in countries that you're listening as well that have, let's say, around 5 kids at home. And then there's 2 parents, mom and dad. And imagine that now, that I don't think there's much families who have more than 7 computers at home. And classes actually happen at the exact same time. So obviously, we needed to find ways how to help these people. And this kind of movement helped us a lot here. Of course, we can't forget about that all our data that is based online is still personal and belongs to the citizens here. So we make sure that everything is stored in a most safe way, and that's why we still keep investing also by the cybersecurity aspects. But let's move on over here now. We wouldn't have been able to do all of these things alone here. I have to say a very big thank you for our entire ICT community, I would say. So the public-private partnership model is also used in Estonian educational system. So all the new approaches and of course solutions are mostly provided by our different edtech companies. So starting from the startup community, who also develop a number of different solutions, a number of different hackathon, different projects that we also initiated here, so that they could actually bring more innovative ideas to our educational sector. And the Startup Estonia plays a big role here together with our Ministry of Education and Research, because they organized also different hackathons and tried to actually help and support our different edtech companies as much as possible. Do you know that in the past 2 years, we have had, and there has been established 20 new edtech companies. Altogether now, we have 40 edtech companies working here today in Estonia. That's an amazing number. And during the time of the crisis, as I said before, that wasn't just a challenge, but that was an opportunity. Most of our edtech companies saw a lot of more others and users and people that were using their systems. And actually, the numbers say that some companies saw 400% growth in this time. So as I said, you can always find an opportunity here. But the cooperation between the public and private sector is the basis of Estonian education success story. And all this effort that we have ensured has highlighted Estonia as one of the education nations. But to continue here, so more broadly talking here, so the cooperation between the private and the public sector in Estonia has made us fully no bureaucratic country. No bureaucratic country, as I said, because today 99% of our services are already available fully online. To continue here and talk about specific numbers regarding education here. As I mentioned before, some amazing numbers. Estonian students are the best in Europe when it comes to mathematics, reading, and of course also science, according to the PISA test. And do you know that 60% of our students have said that they consider their future as an entrepreneurs? That's a huge number, and I hope they will actually make it so we would have even more startups working here. But how do you feel when I say that we can make students' school bags also much lighter? And right now that they could carry the knowledge instead of a very heavy school bags. That would be fantastic, don't you think so? That's what we have done here. In 2015, we actually started a very important goal so that all of our materials had to be digitalized. So kids today, they don't have to carry these heavy books in their backpacks all the time. They can walk home and access this information also online. I wish I was able to go to school and things would be that way as well today. So that would be wonderful. But speaking about the school managing system, so we have had them already for more than 20 years, and today 100% of the schools are actually connected to the school managing systems. And some great numbers to tell you why this is essential that everyone can communicate over these wonderful programs here. every single teacher saves 45 minutes per day by using the school managing systems. 45 minutes. These people that are watching and are teachers, wouldn't you like to actually save 45 minutes that you can do something else in your evenings? I think that would be great, right? And of course, also when we talk about skipping classes, which is still a big problem. So this has also reduced in 5 years by 30%. I know, this is a crazy number to talk about, but this is what the school managing systems are actually able to do. But to finish with the last slide from my side here, what do you think about if we will make Estonian experience as an international success story now? We can help you to do that here. I'm happy to talk about now the lessons that we have learned. One thing that I want you to remember. So we aim to bring this essential education system to all learners, no matter of their background. It has been possible here in Estonia. But if you look at the world, things are far from perfect. We are happy to help you now. So first of all, please always keep in mind that transparency works. Whenever you design something, any kind of e-education platform or any kind of e-tech companies that are doing some developments, please always try to keep it short and simple, because people that are going to use these platforms have a completely different knowledge and completely different background. There are teachers that might be 60 years old. There might be parents that are 40 years old. And there might be kids that are just 7. They have different background. Always try to keep it short and simple. So service design is something that actually matters. And of course, shared platforms are much quicker than anything else. Because if you add information on one Sunny policy one single time, then it saves everyone's time, everyone's energy, so you can do something else with the timing. And one thing that I will never get tired of talking about is the public-private partnership, which I already mentioned before. I'm encouraging all of you to continue listening to the 3 other presentations that we have here from our wonderful edtech companies. They have helped us. I encourage you to start talking and negotiating with these companies and the rest of the edtech companies, because they are the biggest help for us. And we wouldn't be able to do this alone, honestly. No one is able to do that alone, just in the public sector. Together, with the help with the private sector, edtech companies, Estonia is today the role model for the e-education. So let's make it working worldwide. So that was it from my side here. I would like to thank you for all of your attention here. And I do hope that you learned at least something new from my presentation. And I'm pretty sure you're going to learn something more also from the 3 other presentations that we have here prepared today. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation. It's always nice to see a colleague on stage as well, of course. To the audience, if you remember, we had the very first task before the presentation. There was a question to all of you. What was the best mood lifter when you went to school? Annette, we've got different options here. We've got friends, exercise, a really cool teacher, recess, or lunch. What would you choose, and what do you think the audience chose?
I can see the results already. But I can see the friends, of course, but I was lucky to combine 2 of them. I had wonderful teachers. I was very lucky to go to the school when we had wonderful teachers. And of course, I had wonderful classmates, so friends, and combined with great teachers.
I personally, I guess I would have combined friends and lunch ideally, but yes, I don't think it's a surprise that friends are certainly number 1 choice here. We do actually have also 2 questions from the audience. The first one, how did high ICT penetration help to cope with COVID at schools? Thank you very much.
It has helped us a lot in many, many sectors. I can also give you some of the examples. As I said, we were prepared to already have this kind of systems, and we were already using, as I said, 100% of the schools were connected already. But of course, also we started a lot of different other projects. So first of all, for example, we had verification ways, so that if you needed to do some exams to submission to next level of school, then you could also do that by using verification application that we also offered again by the private company. So I would say that our Minister of Education did a wonderful job, but still I would say that Estonia was pretty much ready for the change. And when I've been talking to the students that had to go over also to the remote learning, they didn't really have troubles. It was just like a normal thing to do because they were already used to do this thing. So I would say we were lucky enough.
Around half a year ago, when the government, just before the weekend, declared that the next Monday the schools should be closed, I think that was a big surprise. But again, as you said, Estonia was pretty well prepared.
Yeah.
I believe in 2015, the government decided that they would want to digitalize all education materials by the end of 2020. So the timing was really good. And
so as I said also that we like to carry the knowledge instead of a heavy school bag. And I think everyone should remember this sentence because like what's better than actually carrying the knowledge? So it's wonderful.
Absolutely. One more question before we wrap up. What are the future education plans for Estonia?
So of course, I would say that we'll see what happens now with the crisis and Corona, because some of the schools have already went over also again for the remote learning. But I would say that in the future, I've been talking to some people that work in the ministry, and they say that maybe they're going to start using now these verification ways also, that if kids have to be like, let's say, away from the school or are sick, then that would be a normal thing already. So if you don't feel well, you can still do things at home if you identify yourself by verification ways. But I think there's going to be a lot of other great things as well, even though everything is working already. But of course, again, I already said that many times, but I suggest you to listen to the next presentation, and you're going to hear about these wonderful solutions that are provided by the private sector companies that can help our students to live a better life in general, I would say, because it will make them get rid of their stress, and they can plan their things better and manage their everyday life much better. So stay tuned. You're going to hear about these solutions a little bit more also in the next 45 minutes now.
I think one of the things that we both learned doing our job is that digitalization never stops, and one of the big things is also the lifelong learning strategy that the Estonian ministry has put out, and I'm sure that there will also be private-public sector partnership again. Annette, thank you so much for joining us, and we're moving over to our next presentation. It will be Katri Tuisk, who is the founder and CEO at Clanbeat, and she will talk about growth and well-being of future makers in the digital era. However, before we see the video and her presentation, a kind reminder that you do also have some tasks. When you click on the task button, you have a question to answer. This time it's, who's afraid of distance learning the most? Is it students, teachers, parents, school administration, or digital solutions providers? Without any further ado, let's hear from Katri Tuisk. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Katri Tuisk, the founder and CEO of Clanbeat, and we are developing a personalized learning solution for schools, addressing two major challenges in education: student growth and well-being. So students would be able to discover their internal motivation, achieve their goals, and shape their own future. Students right now are under tremendous pressure from themselves, from the society, from the parents and the schools. And I would love to tell you a story of a regular student, how their days look like. And right here is Tiffany, who happens to be my own daughter, but the story relates to every child in the world. She's a straight-A student, has hobbies like playing saxophone. She loves volleyball and reading and cooking, and has her hobbies which she tries to accommodate into her days. Sometimes there seems to be too much, but she's equally excited for all of them. And she's an avid advocate of there being too much plastic in the world, and thinking about a little bit different things than in the school you would normally do. But from the outside, she looks like a model kid, like a perfect person, like having all straight A's and having all those wonderful hobbies. But what is actually underneath there? And it came really, really painfully out in a time of distance learning, although these things have been brewing already for a long time, because the expectations the society puts to students and how they're living their lives, these are two different things. For example, she feels really overwhelmed by all of those things on her table. It's really hard to design days in a way that there wouldn't be overlaps, there would be focus and really understanding what is the most important right now. And sometimes she really struggles with time management. And we are learning time management already when we are school, and trying to be the masters when we are adults, but actually this is a skill that's in constant development. And when it comes to learning, then she feels constantly stuck. If you're thinking about what kids are striving towards in schools, then they are doing those things which they are measured upon. So sometimes it happens that when she gets her A's, she stops learning. And this is not the world I want for the students in the world. I want them to be growing and finding their internal motivation and designing the learning according to this internal motivation, because they shouldn't be doing things for the grades or for the parents or for the society. They should be able actually to build and design their lives according to their internal needs and wants, and starting to notice those things already when they're young. Because if we are not teaching them those skills already from early on, then what happens when they step into the life? And this is all for the reason because this kind of mismatch of being a good student and what is underneath is creating a great anxiety in students. If even a student from a very good education system and having straight A's is having anxiety because of all the things overlapping and not having too much focus and trying to fill everybody else's expectations, then imagine those kids who are having mediocre results or who are struggling to get into the next year and to just get by. And we have had many encounters with students who are just doing the bare minimum to get by. And this is because they haven't thought through what is their internal motivation and how to build up their learning so it would benefit them. And this is a problem we really want to solve in the education system. And I would love to show you how we are doing it. But before I go into showing how we are actually doing it, I really want to share how we have come to the place where we are today, because this is not really typical to startups to create solutions. And we have been from the day one building the solution in co-creation model, meaning that we have been doing it together with education psychology scientists, heads of schools, and what is most important, with the students. And we are putting a lot of focus into how to build a solution which is totally student-centric. It wouldn't be an administrative tool for the school management and leadership to use and for the parents, but it would be something which students would have the best advantage of. And we have been having so many students in our office that we have run out of ice cream already, so we are really proud of that. And how we are helping them to get on top of their things, we really want to support them to taking an active role in the learning, but also life. Because in our opinion, you cannot separate learning and life. And it is really important for students to try to see the whole picture together. And we help them to do that through a continuous improvement cycle, which is setting their goals, planning those actions, acting them together with their peers and classmates, project groups, and also really important part is reflecting to really understand how those things which you're doing daily are affecting you. Are they bringing you down? Are they giving you more energy? Are you getting stuck in some certain subjects? Are you really trying to take the bigger tasks and cram them into the last night when the assignment is due? We all have been there, like when you have the book to read and you discover it the night before. So we really want to help them to eat elephants by chunks and not to create stressful environments where they don't have to. And we are doing it by helping them to build social emotional skills, by understanding themselves and their peers better, and also reaching out in times of needs, because collaboration in a new world is really, really important. And really important for us is also learning to learn skills. Because right now, if we're looking at the world's education systems, then sometimes students are dragged through the day by day and having to be done task by task, not really understanding how do I learn the best. And this is really individual for each student. And each individual has to discover their own methods, how they're learning the best. And we want to be a really good partner for them, so they could be really adaptive towards the world and would be able to make lemonade out of lemons, what life throws at them. So at the first focus for students, it's planning. For them, it looks like e-diary, where they're putting down their daily homework, their hobbies, their trainings, and everything which consists in their day. So they would have a holistic picture of what does their day contain like. And also be able to put focus, because everything cannot be equally important. And they have to choose to generate little less stress for them. And if they're putting down the goals, we really want them to think about how hard it is for me to do. So they would understand the difficult levels of getting things done. And also, how do I feel about towards tasks? Because if they understand how they feel towards some tasks, they are able to design the learning much more better. And we are in the continuous improvement cycle. And if you look down on the screen, then you'll see that down there we are having asking questions, which means that we are directing them towards collaboration if they get stuck. This is what we as adults do. If we get stuck, we ask questions. If we get stuck, we gather people who are smarter around us. Students need to learn that skill as well, already when they're young. And if you're going to the second chapter in our product, then student well-being is really important to us, because you cannot take learning and being a human differently, because this is all one. And we really want them to support being balanced and wholesome human beings. How we are doing it? We are starting to help them to recognize their feelings, what is baked to the learning, their everyday life, and what they're going through. And the next step for noticing feelings is also reflecting and really thinking through how those things are affecting you. You could mark them down for yourself as a private e-diary. You could reflect them with your peers or your project group to really crack down some problems together and have it as a feed to discuss things together. Or you could share them only with your mentor or coach from the school, who usually is homeroom teacher, or might be social worker, or might be psychologist. It depends on the school how they're setting it up. And to having this kind of part in the learning cycle is really important, to becoming better and better and better and understanding yourself. And I think for students it's really, really important. We really want to give also possibility to do pulse service for schools on the topics which they feel that students need support on. So this is also some really good method to really get down on topics which are important to schools, which they're struggling. It could be some kind of lacking in inspections, or where they feel that they need support. So having targeted service and really acting upon them, that's where we come in. And last but not least is students are social beings, and they thrive the best together. And we do not want to isolate learning, because this is not something done in a vacuum. And we really want to provide delightful and connection prompting safe communication. And that's why we have possibility to have discussion groups based on your projects to really crack down the problems which you're having. You could have like very simple do a picture of this task and send to a project group or to your peers, or actually write down questions which you don't understand, or just have fun together, because students sometimes really want to have fun as well. So we have different rooms for every occasion, so they would have focus. And if you're thinking about how students are learning the best, then really important is sense of belonging, and really having my people around whom I can do amazing things together. And for that, we have built up meaningful matches, so students can match up based on interests, bucket list ideas, meaning that looking into the future together, so they would really discover those people who are in this school most similar to them or most interesting to, and also to really try to find this internal motivation. Why am I doing this learning? If you have things down on your bucket list, it's really easy to design your learning according to, so you could achieve those streams. So it wouldn't be just dry learning of different texts and equations. But from all of this comes impactful data, which we reflect back to students, teachers, and school leaders. And through that data analysis, we can create results, which equals to more student agency, personalized interventions, better academic results and well-being, and what is most important, wholesome human beings who are not looking themselves in isolation as a learner, but also as a humans and achieving towards their goals. Based on the usage of Clanbeat and the Pulse service we are sending out to students, we are able to create very powerful insights for the students and also for the homeroom teachers. Because homeroom teacher is the one who has to have every child in their class under their wing and be the most supportive person they can to ignite their growth. And we are able to show them red flags and green flags on where to put attention and what to celebrate as well. Because celebrating the growth moments is also really important to have this feeling of success. And if it goes unnoticed, then it might not ignite you to the next level. So we really want to pinpoint those to the homeroom teacher to make their life easier, because homeroom teachers sometimes have different subjects also to teach, and they cannot monitor everybody on an everyday basis. So we are bringing them the data and really helping them on being the best partner to the students' growth as they can be. We are from Estonia, from the digital nation, and we are really proud of the security level we are able to provide. Our platform is data encrypted. We are GDPR compliant, which means that the students and the teachers are the owner of their own data, and we have no ads. We are not using the data for the commercial experiences, and we are not showing any external cat or baby pictures or bringing in YouTube links which might distract students sometimes. So this is really private and secure environment. And it's really easy to start. We are having free options for classroom level, and if the school wants more data and to implement it on a school level, then we have paid options based on the yearly subscription on student-based pricing. And what we do the best is that we are trying to bring students out of being passive in their own learning, and we are sitting on top of learning management systems and replacing monofunctional solutions to really bring together those two worlds. And this is it, basically. I really believe that students have the capacity to always be growing and not to be passive in their learning, and to really be inspired and ignited by their own dreams. And please do join me in the breakout room, and I will go more into details into the science behind what we do and really to show you around as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation, Katri. And yes, absolutely. If you found that very interesting and you want to find out more, definitely join in the breakout room in just about an hour. We have some questions in the meantime. First of all, the question that we asked the audience as well, who's afraid of distance learning the most? Now, you are a parent, you have a kid in school, you've dealt with teachers, with school administrations, and you lead a digital solutions provider. What would you say, which group is the most afraid of long distance learning?
As we've been in really close contact with school leaders, then I have a very deep respect of school leaders and what they have to go through. And I wouldn't say that they are the most afraid, but I think they are under the biggest pressure right now to really comply with the different rules which are changing every day, and to really think of everybody's safety and also growth. Because being in a mode where you are in defensive mode, or when you're growth mode, these are two different things, and it's really hard to provide growth mode when you're in this struggling mode. So I think this is a big challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do on all sides, but,
yes.
but yeah, for the administrations in particular. We've got lots of questions. We are not going to have time for all of them, actually. So I will pick two of the most popular ones. First of all, does Clanbeat help fight bullying in schools, and if so, how?
Oh, yes. We have built into our system the anti-bullying reporting, but this is only mechanical. If we are looking into more deeper into why bullying happens in schools, is lack of awareness of self and others. For example, you don't understand what are those struggles your peers are going through and why they are the people they are. We help to bring that awareness to each student and also to the students themselves, because those who are bullying, having issues inside them, which just want to be released and get out. So we try to help those students to be able to deal those topics, and also to have school as a supporting partner to help to deal with those issues. So anti-bullying is supported in different levels in our case.
It should be at the core of the system, really, because it happens at every single school in the world. So absolutely. You have created this solution together with school students and scientists. How easy or hard was it to involve all parties? And I guess I would add the question, was there one that was really easy, one that was very hard? Like, what was your experience with that?
I think it all comes down to the vision, like where do you want to go? And we really want to go into supporting personalized learning, which is in the strategy of OECD 2035 strategies and many country strategies to really support personalized learning. And all of those counterparts are really seeing the future as we see it, and it was not hard to engage them in motivational level, but technically we started already before COVID. But when you go into COVID period where you can do things only through Zoom, it went a little bit rough, but we still managed, because we used to go into schools and do workshops together with students and be together in one room and use a lot of post-its of their pains and gains and draw wireframes together, and all this had to move into digital environment. But there are ways with different platforms, and students were really fast to adapt, so I'm really happy for them.
Always be agile and imaginative.
Yes.
We've got time for one more question. You operate in very different markets, ranging from Northern Europe to Southeast Asia. Are the challenges that you face different from country to country and region to region?
It depends on the challenges. Student well-being is a challenge in every country in the world we have been encountering, but the challenge levels are different. Some countries are more academic focused and some are more student well-being focused. And those who are more academic focused, they will reach into the level of looking human as a whole also, but there has to be this kind of societal support for that, because sometimes parents are still pushing for the best results and the best grades and not looking into how my child is actually feeling under this pressure, like going from tuition to tuition and getting all those grades. And also suicide levels in different countries for students are different. So I think this is something to look into.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. So we are now heading over to the next presentation. Before we do, however, we also have another task, another question for you, the dear audience. We have the following question. How often did you skip school? Don't worry, the answers are anonymous, and I will also share my answer after the presentation. The presentation will be held by Tanel Keres, who is the CEO at e-Kool, and he's going to talk to you about organizing school life in modern times. Let's take a look.
Introducing the Estonian e-school program. Estonia, the Northern European country that gave birth to Skype, is also known for its successful e-governance solutions. One of the success stories dates back from 2002, when Estonian schools began using an innovative e-school program. The program was created with the aim of introducing a modern system for grading, keeping records of homework, and monitoring for parents, but also enhancing the communication between teachers and parents. The e-school program has replaced the previous manner of keeping records of grades and absences. Thus, using it does not entail double effort for teachers, instead allowing them to conduct their work in a modern way. And the teachers can concentrate on their main assignment, teaching children.
Hello. Just imagine that teachers can focus on their main job. Just imagine that parents know what is going on in school and what is happening with their kids. Imagine that parent and home and school, they can communicate very easily to each other. And imagine that students don't have to skip the whole school year due to the COVID-19 situation. Well, here it is. This is e-Kool, a school management system from Estonia, and this is what we do. We help to manage all these. So as a company, we definitely are we agree with the statement here that your economy today, your education today is your economy tomorrow. So due to that, it takes us back to 2002 when we started to think about how to improve the education in Estonia. And the core concept about it was that you have to connect parent or include parent to the learning system. You have to share all the information regarding grades, homeworks, lesson descriptions, everything with parent, because this is very important. This is my daughter here, and in ideal life, we expect that they do everything what we say. They do their homework, they get good grades and things like that. But in reality, things might be different. They actually need constant monitoring and actually also parental involvement, although they look like angels. So here are some hard facts from Estonian education. As Anett already told about the PISA tests, we are very proud of it. Estonia is really on the top of the education in the world in the results of PISA, and we are definitely proud of it here in Estonia. We believe that this is really a very, very good result for a small country like Estonia. So as we have a good cooperation with the city of Tallinn, we went and asked about their opinion, what they think about us. And among other things, they said that also e-Kool has made some contribution that Estonia has reached those good results in Estonia. So we are definitely very proud of it, that we are also putting our effort here. So this is also our result, let's put it this way. So the way we have achieved this is by connecting all relevant parties into one platform. Students, parents, teachers, schools, and local authorities. And the information that is stored in our system are the grades, assignments, materials, reports, timetables, and all these kind of things. And maybe it's important to say that security, we also compile with all these GDPR rules here in Estonia and with our system. So talking about the system again is that this is a role-based system so that students can see only their information, parents can see only the information that is meant for them, and teachers can see only this information that is meant for them. And form masters or the class teachers can see all the information regarding his or her class. School manager can see all the information, and local government or ministry can also see the aggregate data of the school. Now, must say that our technology has never stopped evolving, and now, after 18 years, we are still improving it on a daily basis to assure that all the information is stored and accessible 24/7. It's available in web and also in mobile. And I must say that students and parents tend to use more mobile device. In Estonia, we follow, in the electronic services, we follow the once-only principle. Annette also told about it a little bit, but I want to emphasize it once more. This is very important because with this principle, we do not duplicate data. And it also means that the data that you put into the system, you do it only once. And this actually helps to integrate the system to other systems. Let's put it this way, that we also have the integration with the national education portals, electronic school cards, secure logins provided by the state, and also some learning management systems and all these kind of things. So we have counted about 11 different integrations here in Estonia. And as it has become an irreplaceable tool here in Estonia for schools, and we are also market leaders here in Estonia. Our success has moved us abroad, and we have launched our services already in several different countries as well. We are providing our services here in Estonia, also in Latvia, Russia, Kazakhstan, and having some pilots in Japan and also in African region. Today, it's a global modular platform, which is in web. It's a cloud-based system, and it can be a standalone system, or it can add some specific modules in current systems as well. And here are the most important outcomes that we are most proud of. Teachers have cut their administrative time in half, saving up to 45 minutes per day. And this is something that they have said themselves, that e-kool has helped them to save time. And you might think that how it is possible. As I told, they don't have to do any additional work. They don't have to present any reports to the school management because the reports are generated automatically. All the report cards, everything is generated by the system, and teacher has to do their work only once, only one time. And this is actually a very big time saver. Another thing is that using school management system has reduced the skipping. We can see from our platform that it has reduced like 30% in 5 years. And even if we take like 10 years or 15 years, I would say it's even 90%. So it's not the problem in Estonia anymore, I would say. And the third thing is that parents are involved in the learning process, checking the homeworks and grades and all these kind of things on a daily basis, and maybe even a couple of times per day. So for students, the most important features are the homeworks, lesson descriptions. If you are ill, you know what the class did in the your classmates did in the class. You know, you have the overview about the grades, absences, and things like that. You can also have a secure messaging in our platform to communicate with your classmates and teachers. So you actually don't need any other messaging platform like messaging or some groups, mailing lists and things like that, because our groups are generated automatically based on the roles in the school. For parents, the features are basically the same as for students. They can monitor everything that is going on in school. In addition, they can add some absence notes or, let's say, sick day alerts to send them to school saying that your kid is not at school today or tomorrow or next week. And you don't have to call anyone because everything is in one system. For teachers, they can do their work whenever they can, wherever they can or want, because the system is available for them all the time. I already told you about the reports, which they don't have to do anymore. And this is actually a very good thing for them to save time and concentrate on teaching. Also communicate with home, with school, and your colleagues, students, parents, and so on. We talked about the reports. So there are definitely a lot of reports that school can have. Let's say teachers' workload or absence management, things like that. But also you can have all this curriculum management or school year management in one place. Also student management. So for local government or the ministry level, you can also see the aggregate reports based on the school performance or whatever is needed, because the data is there. So I also have here some screenshots to show you how it looks like. So this is the view for a parent. You can see the homeworks there. Down there you can see the news feed with grades and some school notes or notifications. Also absences and all these kind of things. For teacher, you can see the view like this. You can see your journals where you are teacher and all the other features that are open for you. You can see your students, colleagues, and things like that. This is here the overview about the messaging I told you about. What I would like to say in addition is that our system uses the roles. So for example, if you are a parent in the 4th grade, you are just included in that group. So teacher or school manager can send a message to 4th grade parents, and you are in the group. You don't have to do anything in addition to that. So as it was already told, the system is available in web and also in mobile. And must say that exciting times are ahead. Please join our journey. And please come and join me in the breakout room, because I would like to show you all, or let's say, the main features of eGoal. What can teacher do? What reports can be seen? How it looks for student and how it looks for parent. So join me after the session, and you can have a lot of questions there as well. Thank you.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for this presentation. And also, it seems like everybody has an adorable photo of the daughter to share. It's a very exciting presentation because you also have like real-life examples of how your solutions work for the students, for the parents as well. So I think that's very helpful stuff.
It's true, yeah.
Now, looking at the question that we asked to the audience, you don't have to answer it because we said it was anonymous, but the question was, how often did you skip school? And the majority said, around 1/3, if my maths don't trick me, said once a year. I think that's acceptable, but of course, there are also 9 people who said, never, why would I? So we have got very good boys and girls back at home who have been very good students indeed. We also have lots of questions from the audience to you, though, and we want to get to them straight away. First of all, do children not feel completely checked and controlled by their parents using eCall?
Well, this is a good question. Must say that the students who are actually in school today in Estonia, they have not seen a life without such kind of system. And they actually don't know the life without it. But to be honest, we also have asked them what they think about, and they actually have told us that they rather benefit from it because all the information is stored in one place. So if you forget something or you miss some information in class, it is always there. You can check it up and follow those, let's say, this information there. So actually what they have said that they actually benefit for it. So we don't have this kind of bad feedback that, oh, you are controlling my life. Another thing is that actually parents are still responsible for kids. So they are responsible for it and they have to know what is going on. So in that sense, I think it's there's no problem. And no students have turned to us that stop it. Yeah.
Very good. You did mention in your presentation as well that you have some pilot projects running in Japan. And one of the bigger questions here is, how did the eCall introduction get to Asia and Japan in particular? Like, how did that happen?
Well, we actually were found by our partner in Japan. And we are having a pilot in city of Fukuoka with the help of Fukuoka City. And well, they found us, and we are definitely very happy about it, and we are moving forward there.
So you've got a reputation around the world, like literally on the other end of the world, which is, I think, great for a tiny education nation such as Estonia. You already mentioned in which countries besides Estonia eCall has been implemented. A question connected to that, how long does it take to implement eCall in a school or in a whole country?
Well, if we are talking about the school, then it might take, let's say, set up a school, it's like a couple of hours. It depends on the quality of the data, how the students' data is structured and things like that. So it needs a couple of hours for teachers for training. And so basically in one day it can be set up. So you have even some reserve time there as well. If we are talking about the country, then setting up the system in a country, it would take like a couple of weeks.
But again,
it starts.
It seems mostly like a question of getting the legal framework right and then also the training, right? It's not that the solution is so difficult or complex that it's incomprehensible to people around the world.
Correct, you are. But again, in case of country, the legislation is one thing, but again, I believe that the structure or the framework or the ideas are the same. Data belongs to the school. We do not own the data, so they can do with the data what they want. And if country wants to set it up in their territory, then we are open for that as well.
Very well. That's a long question. Your solution is one of the oldest school-related e-solutions in Estonia, if not the oldest one. So you've had a lot of time to polish and update it. What are your biggest challenges today? And I would maybe extend that question. Do you have any future plans that you can tell us about?
I would say that maybe the most important or the challenges are how to bring all the features to users. Okay, we can create a new thing, but
Must be used.
yeah, exactly. And maybe this is one thing, but and another question was from you, what are the next steps probably? So what we are thinking about here is definitely how to help teacher to find out, or how to support teacher to find out the weakest and strongest sides of a student and concentrate on those.
Yeah.
So that towards individual learning, this is the approach that we are working on at the moment.
Sounds reasonable. This is a very good question. I was actually, if nobody would ask that question, I would have asked it myself. After COVID-19 started, have you noticed an increased interest in ECOL from other countries? And what is, if you can share this, what is the most exotic country that was interested?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of incoming queries, and maybe one of the exotic ones was from the region of Caribbean. Yeah.
Why not? I mean, they also have schools there, so why not e-education? Absolutely. That makes sense. Is ECOL also available on phones, so mobile versions?
Yes, yes. And as I told, students and parents mostly use the mobile version because you can all the notifications straight away, so you know what is going on there.
Yeah. I don't know whether you're going to talk about this in the breakout room, so maybe you can please interrupt me if I ask this question now. Do you have a favorite part of ECOL, sort of like what you think is a game changer and you're sometimes surprised? Why don't other people, like, you know, why don't they want this, or like what's the point there? Like, for example, for me, I saw the notes of absence, you know, that kids can no longer create their own parent signatures and so on. I think that's something that every single school in the world should have today. Would you agree with that one or anything else?
I totally agree. And that is, again, a thing like that. If a student takes parents' phone, what's going to happen? So the next or the last word has to be by the teacher, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe that is a feature that I would also point out that this is something different. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's a very nice question. What is the biggest compliment you've ever gotten about ECOL?
Maybe that. Now I see everything, and I have one portal where I can get all the information. So this is that you can, let's say, get rid of other platforms. You use only one.
Yeah.
So this is definitely, and maybe another thing is that when we see that school is using, let's say, 90% of our features, and this is actually worth of picking the phone and saying to the headmaster that very good.
Yeah. And I mean, you save all the different teachers lots of time. So depending on how their relationships are going, it's either thank you so much that I can spend more time with my loved ones, or maybe the opposite. But either way, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing the stage with us. And of course, dear audience, you can also join Tanel in the breakout room in a few minutes as well. We are coming to our next presentation, but before we do, we've got one more task to share with you, the dear audience. We've got one more question, which is going to be challenging for me as well. Namely, what was the coolest part about maths? Is it algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, statistics, and probability, or the teacher? You guys vote. It is also anonymous, so don't be afraid. While you're voting, we also have another presentation, another introduction by Dennis Kuzmin, who is the founder and CEO at 99 Math, and he will tell us how to get kids really engaged and excited about math and outperforming other schools and even other countries around the world. Let's take a look.
let's talk about math. We have built a social gaming platform that gets kids excited and succeeding in mathematics. So I'll get my slides up in a second, and let's dive into the problem. The general problem with math is that we want our kids to succeed in math, but that's not necessarily what kids want. They often consider this as a rather dull and a boring subject. Let's dig into deeper a bit more. So we as parents, we want our kids to succeed in life and in school. Teachers want the kids to have good math scores at the end of the term, and governments are focusing on increasing the focus on STEM area, the science, technology, engineering, and the basis of all of which is mathematics. Why? We know that being really good in math helps the kid to get into better universities, as well as get higher paying jobs in the modern smart economy in the fields of technology, finance, etc. However, for kids, math is a very boring and for many of them a hard subject. So instead of being good in math, kids just want to have fun. That's what being a kid is about. They want to play games and hang out with their friends. They are just not thinking 10 years in the future once they are approaching the university or the job market. So how do we take mathematics, a boring and a hard subject, and make this exciting for kids? Here's how the kids perceive math lessons. And here's how the kids perceive video games. It's a noticeable difference in their emotions. Again, math lesson and a video game. So we have built a social gaming platform that gets kids excited about mathematics. The game is already used in the classrooms. It's already used in distance learning. When the schools are closed, everything can be done online as well. The kids are actually playing with it free time at their homes, which almost never really happens otherwise, that kids prefer to solve math exercises. And with this game, they do. And then on top of this, the virtual math game days that we've organized can really get kids excited as a cherry on top. Kids have already solved more than 40 million math exercises on the platform. Why? Because they like to play games and interact with their friends. So here's a sneak peek into the platform. On the top left, you see there are several math topics. There are 2 game modes for live games in the classrooms and for remote learning scenario. Kids play it with their own phones, and on bottom right, the teacher can dive into the analytics and see who needs help with what. Here's how the teachers are using it with students. The teacher, being in charge, selects the math topic she wants the kids to practice. Now, every once in a while, teacher gets into new math topics, and there's really no other way to master it than really practice, and it's an endless amount of practice. But in this game format, the students really get excited. They play on their phones, iPads, Chromebooks, whatever devices that are available. They only need a browser device to play the game. And then everyone sees the results, which is the most exciting part. Math is rather a dull activity because it's a lonesome one. But when they're comparing the results with friends, that's what really gets them excited. You can actually see that in this video, the young fellow in the yellow shirt is about to stand up and do his little victory dance. Why? Because he just had an amazing math score. Now, you don't really see that happening in a math class otherwise. With this game, that's how it works. Kids are playing the game at their homes, at their free time as well. They are playing it with their friends and with players from many other countries across 3 continents. we have measured about 50% of improvement in specific math skills over a period of just 2 weeks. If you look at Alex, who is a gifted child already performing really well in math, he's achieved about 50% of improvement in a very specific math skill, for example, multiplication table. Jose, performing at the grade level, also is getting similar results. However, it really gets interesting with the bottom performers or kids that are just starting to understand and comprehend the subject. Emma, for example, being a beginner in that subject, in that narrow math topic, playing this over and over again in 2 weeks has increased her skill level more than 150%. So, why does this work? First, the game itself has to be so exciting that students want to play it. They play it with their friends, they train their skills, and they collect their small victories. Secondly, the game is designed in such a way that it improves performance. One, it motivates the students to practice more, which naturally leads to higher skill levels. But then it also gives feedback and celebrates the small successes. And finally, live events that's like cherry on top, that gets kids so excited playing with other schools and other countries and comparing their results. Now, I could explain much more about this, but I can actually show this so you can experience it yourself in the breakout room. These live events we have already organized for more than 30,000 students from more than 20 countries. Imagine a classroom in Estonia competing with a classroom in Finland, who's also competing with a classroom in Turkey and a classroom in Latvia. That's exactly what we have done. It works in a way that we put kids in teams. Generally, math is a very lonesome activity. It's just you, your pen, and the paper. And if it's hard, you get bored, and you don't want to practice that much. Putting kids in teams, they start to really encourage each other because each of the team members' result counts as a team result. The games are in real time, so the kids in Estonia and the kids in Finland who are playing against each other see right then how the opposing team is doing and if they're getting ahead or falling behind. And with live online viewers, it's exciting also not only for the students, but for the parents and teachers or whoever who is interested in that kid's success. You can see both teams in real time and follow your kid's score. We are building this with an incredible team of 3 founders. I have started a couple of edtech ventures before. Timo is announced as a 20 under 20 entrepreneur, and Ain has built IT platforms already while in school. We have a total team of 7 with pros in gaming and mathematics. And we're partnered up with University of Southern California in the United States with their EdVentures Accelerator, as well as Finland's Association of Mathematics Teachers. As a result, this game is played in Europe, in the United States, and in Latin America. How is it so? Because, for one, math is the same in every country. There are slight differences in the curriculum, but at the end of the day, it's the same math that we all have to know. Secondly, the devices are in the pockets of students at home, and many schools are already providing students with Chromebooks, tablets, etc. And thirdly, perhaps the most important, is that the game is free. That's right, there is no trick. We made it free so all the kids around the world can use that and improve their performance. Obviously, the question arises, how do we make money and pay for this? We will develop additional premium features that can be bought. But what you see now on the platform will remain free, so you can just have fun and play. So what can you do now? If you want to improve the math performance of your kids, and if you need a remote learning solution, then you can take 99 Math to your schools immediately. For free, no trick. We can even help you set up trainings for your teachers. Here's my email, tonys@99math.com, and I can help you figure out how to get either your school or thousands of schools get started. Secondly, you can play the game at home with your kids or go have fun by yourself. And thirdly, if you really want to make an impact, we can discuss organizing a live event for you. With this, you can instantly show that math is cool to a large number of kids. You can accelerate the math results and provide an instant solution to the remote learning needs. So you can go to the website, 99math.com, and check it out. On the bottom left, you see 3 roles you can sign up as. If you sign up as a teacher, you will see the school version of the platform that all the teachers can start using immediately. And as a school principal or a person from an educational organization or ministry, that's what I would encourage you to look at. However, if you are a parent or a student yourself, you can sign up with these 2 roles to see the home version of the game, which is slightly different and built to have a bit more fun with other players across the world. In fact, on the top right, global results, you can even see if your country is there, how the kids of your country are performing against other countries. So it's time to get excited. We'll finish up soon, and in my breakout room, I will show you the demo of the game, of the school version, and we can talk about how to organize the live event. Get your kids excited about math and encourage them to increase their performance. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for that very interesting presentation. I have to admit, before we get into the questions, I have always been extremely scared of maths. So when I saw the question for the audience, what was the coolest part of maths? I was like, oh, I don't know. What options do I have? Before we talk about the audience's answer, what was your favorite part of maths when you were a kid? Was it algebra, geometry, calculus, statistics, or the teacher? What was it?
So I don't talk about this often, but I was pretty good in math, and I did achieve the perfect score, which is the result at the end of the high school, which about 0.1% of people ever achieve. So I pretty much enjoyed it all.
Wow, so it's no coincidence that you have decided to make 99 Math.
As a matter of fact, it kind of is. What I really wanted to do with my previous education ventures as well is to improve the learning experience for kids. But doing this in math just made a lot of sense because it's such a painful subject, and I saw a way how this could be improved.
I think I agree. It can be a painful subject for some people, at least, which is also reflected in the answer from the audience, where out of 30 answers, we've got 10 people who said geometry was the most fun, but also 8 people said the teacher. So maybe they didn't enjoy the subject so much as they did the personal interaction with the person teaching that subject.
Sure,
So, yeah,
I've experienced it firsthand that an exceptional teacher can make math exciting and understandable.
My tricky time back then was that, first of all, the subject was maths, and also my teacher was not terribly sympathetic, so greetings back to Germany. Going to the questions from the audience, there are lots of questions, which is good because we also have a bit of time left over. The first 2 I'll combine into one question. You've already sort of answered it. It's very personal. I hope it's okay with you. Number 1, do you like math? And number 2, were you good at math in school? I guess the answer to the second one is yes, but did you actually like it, or were you just good?
I did like it for some particular reason. I personally just enjoyed solving assignments, solving problems. I see in a way that's very similar to what I'm doing today when building the startup, that every new step is a problem that has never been solved, and I kind of need to figure out with the team, how do we solve it and then make it happen? And then once we've solved that step, there's a next one lined up.
And there can be different ways of solving it, different variables and so on, but the solution has to be the correct one at the end. Absolutely.
For sure, in real life, it's much more complex than in math lessons.
What about kids who get low scores? Is there bullying, or do you have solutions against this? For example, only showing the top 10 achievers or something like that?
Right. That's what we've thought a lot about and discussed with teachers. And we've made a solution that's celebrating success, but does not put down the low performance. Because in each of the class, there is someone who's lagging behind. So we're not pointing the finger at them. Instead, we're encouraging them as well to get better.
Yeah, I think that's the correct approach. Absolutely. Another question goes in the same direction. What exactly was the inspiration behind creating the platform? So you said like you always had this interest, but when did you say, I'm going to make a business out of it? You know, I'm going to try to solve this around the world. How did that happen?
Right. So I was having a discussion with one of my friends, a math teacher, and discussing what could be built to make her life easier as a teacher. And she was showing me a couple of platforms that she was using. And on that moment, I remember the click happened, that I saw that we could combine some of these features and make a platform that's both exciting for kids and actually increases the performance. Because there are a lot of games that are exciting for kids, not necessarily increasing math performance. And there are very good math platforms that perhaps kids are not so excited about.
Yeah.
So I just had this click to put these two together.
Yeah, sounds good. Were there students or teachers who have ever complained due to the open results? Because not everybody wants to show that they failed in the game, or maybe they were the worst school or something. So I guess that relates back to what you said before. So it's also for schools, like you don't show the entire ranking, but rather the top something or other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's always someone who's getting started, and there's always someone at the bottom of the leaderboard. Yeah. So we are not showing that. We let them practice a bit until they get better scores, and that's when we start actually comparing the results with others, so they themselves can be proud to be listed in the leaderboard.
Interesting. What is the most popular game mode? Is it multiplication, fractions? Like, what's the most exciting part for kids?
Yeah, it's a multiplication table. At first, we launched the very early version of the game with just 4 topics: multiplication, addition, subtraction, and division. And multiplication was the most played. Now we have more than 10 different topics, but multiplication is still the one being played the most.
Is it also connected to timing? So the faster you solve it, the better, or is it just correct solution, yes, no?
Indeed, the proficiency consists of 2 parts. One is how accurate I am when solving these exercises. But the second part is my speed of thought.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I had to sum up 3 times 2 and I would use my fingers, you would like instinctively know that I'm not very proficient in that. If I shout out the answer immediately,
It's 7, right? Yeah.
Something like that.
Close enough. Cool. What is the student's feedback to the games? I mean, you showed the kid doing the success dance. Does that happen often?
Yeah, it does. When we ask the teachers, after they've used it for the first time, what did they like about it? As a teacher, the first thing they point out is that the kids loved it.
Does that make you happy, sort of
sure it does.
helping kids around the world? I think that's fantastic. In your opinion, what is the coolest thing about maths? Is there something that, I mean, maybe it's not something that you have in your solution yet, but maybe something that you think could be in there one day?
I think math is really cool because it develops the brain in ways that many other school subjects don't. I mean, math helps the person to think in complex ways and really solve problems. And I have experienced that people who are doing really well in math in school are significantly better in almost any other field in life. Be it also, like for example, in in the company that we're building, engineering, well, obviously, but also marketing. People need to construct like marketing funnels and messages and think about effect and cause and all those relationships, how a million dots come together, what influences what. And math is really something that trains the skill from early on.
Yeah, and there's always, as is the case with capitalism in most areas, there's always a competitive situation where you have to look at some parts of data or some data sets to see, are you doing well, are you not doing well? And if you don't understand the math behind that, if you don't understand what percentages mean, then it's no real good. This is an important question, I think also for many teachers that maybe saw this and say, I would love to bring this to my school. What is the most prominent prejudice that teachers have towards using games in classrooms?
About the games, okay. So teachers are really pressed with time and they don't have a lot of minutes to spare in the classroom. They need the students to perform. So it's not that they are against games, but they're just lacking the time to do many additional activities. So what we have been aiming to build is a solution that helps the teacher to increase the performance of the students. And the same students is viewed as a game, as entertainment on their side.
In your opinion, what is the biggest thing you have achieved with the solution? Is there something that you're particularly proud of?
Yes. When the school closure started, at first we built the game to be used inside the classrooms. And when the remote learning started, a lot of teachers started to use the game in a new kind of environment. And many of these teachers didn't have a very high proficiency in technology themselves. They were overnight forced to use technology. So we put a lot of effort into simplifying the game for a teacher who's learning it for the first time. And I'm really happy that we managed to do that. And now looking at the user numbers, how they're increasing in very different continents, South America, North America, Europe.
Yeah. It's, I think it's what Annette said in the very first presentation. Yes, there are lots of challenges, but they usually breed some nice progress as well. So if this was the situation that forced you to sort of simplify and make it more accessible and has led obviously to results as well, then I think that's wonderful. Are there many schools in Estonia who use 99 Math? Do you have some numbers on that?
Sure, there are a lot of schools. I don't know the exact number of the schools because we aren't really counting schools. We are measuring teachers, and at first the chart was growing rapidly. I have to look into the numbers to see, because Estonia, even though I would like to make a huge impact here, and that's what I'm doing, but in recent months, the markets of United States, Mexico, and Southern America have so much outgrown the Estonian market. There's just many more students out there. Absolutely.
What is your biggest dream when it comes to 99 Math? Is it worldwide domination for every single student? Or is it sort of like a more regional approach, like right now, this would be your situational dream?
So if we can actually help kids get excited in math, then a very long-term goal is that we raise a new generation of kids being significantly better in mathematics, and therefore many more of them turning towards science, technology, engineering, etc. That's what I'm really hoping.
I think, I mean, as you know, of course, there is always a need for more people in STEM fields, even in Estonia, where, yes, we have 1/10 of students studying IT and so on. There is still, if you look at all the startups, all the established companies, there is still more and more need for people who have solid foundation in math. So, yes, I agree with that. Do you think a platform like 99 Math could be useful in learning languages as well? So just sort of converting the sort of business idea to another topic, even though they might not provide the same, the same result because it's in a different area.
Good question. We've certainly given it some thought. Perhaps if we have really mastered many math topics more to come, then we'll look into physics, chemistry, other sciences. We might perhaps look into coding, but there are many other platforms built specifically for languages. I'd leave it up to them.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe the final question that I would have for you, in which country is 99 Math most used? In terms of absolute numbers.
It used to be the United States, but in last 2 weeks, Mexico has outgrown the United States.
So yeah, so it's just probably because there's been a more regional awareness of like what you provide as 99 Math, and those schools in the different districts now adopted. That's great. Yeah.
It also seems to me that in Mexico, well, teachers are not, the schools are not opened in Mexico. Many schools are opened in the States at the moment, and therefore teachers can carry on with their already used to solutions. However, in Mexico, the teachers are forced to adapt, so they are really looking. There's a much stronger market pull in that country.
I heard something about them using TV channels as well for general education purposes. So there's a lot of stuff happening in other countries as well in terms of using online solutions or TV solutions and so on.
Which is interesting, isn't it? I mean, TV is like a video.
It's non-reactive.
Yeah, exactly. It's not two-way communication. Yeah. It's not a dialogue. It's just one way. I just consume. Yeah. The way I consume a book or the way I consume a learning video, and it has been proven, I think, in 70s that the efficiency of that kind of learning is about 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
However, when the kid is involved and solving exercises, the efficiency rises up to about 70%. Yeah. So it's really puzzling for me to hear that countries are doing TV lessons as an innovation. I mean, didn't we already invent TV a few decades ago?
Well, coming from Germany, I can tell you that there are some countries which are sadly slightly more behind Estonia. But also that's a wonderful thing because people like you, but also our other presenters, get to benefit from it. So I think, and what you mentioned as well, that there is no general reservation against playing games or something. It's rather a question of time. It's rather a question of adoption to that new to those new solutions. So I hope you are as optimistic as I am for the future.
I am very much so, because even though TV lessons and radio lessons are the solutions that many countries are using, however, at the same time, most of the kids in the same countries have smartphones in their pocket with internet connectivity, and it's super easy to start doing interactive learning.
And they will not use it for radio anyway. So absolutely,
they will use it for games.
Yeah. Dennis, thank you so much for spending time with me on the stage. Thank you for answering to all the different questions.
Thank you.
Now it is probably the most difficult part that I have here on the agenda. It says Florian Markus, summary of the whole session. Now this is very difficult because we've had terribly exciting solutions. All I can say is that coming from Germany, having done my entire secondary school education in Germany, I was quite flabbergasted when I heard that ECOR has already been around since the early 2000s, that there are all these different solutions that make the lives easier, not just for students, but also for teachers, but also for parents and everyone else involved. So I can only invite you very much to please think about how you could implement these solutions, some of which are free, which you can try out right now, to try them out and see whether they work for your school or for your education environment. last few words about the breakout rooms. So you will see the selection. You've got 3 options. We have number 1, the breakout room with Clanbeat, with Katri. We've got the breakout room with Ekol, with Tanel. And then we have, of course, Tõnis with 99 Math. And you can join either of these or any of these breakout rooms, follow the demonstration of their solutions, and also ask questions very interactively. From my side, this is all for today. Please stay safe and healthy. If you're interested in more digitalization solutions, you can always get in touch with us at the eEstonia Briefing Center, and we will get you in touch with service providers, with solutions such as those that you saw today, and many, many more in many other fields. We will also have another digital discussions topic, which we will announce soon. For the time being, stay tuned, stay safe, and have a wonderful time. Thank you. Bye-bye.